you're working with a creative coach. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I just started with Nicole Colbeck of Little Acorn Music Management is the name of my creative coach. And I sought her out after getting into kind of a stagnant phase of inspiration. Thought it was a writer's block, and then I got a little bit past the block. And now I just feel a little bit like I need help scheduling my time so that I can have creative time, creative energy, and time to be an artist in all facets. So we've just met a couple times, but it already has been, it's like therapy, but for my artist self, which I think is very important because I have a very complicated relationship with my artist self. We have been in a lot of episodes of Jerry Springer together. And just like some of the things she's given me has been like concrete, like do this today, try this. She calls it low hanging fruit of just like these are more easy things you can do to just try today. And then there's some more complicated things. In just the short time, she really helped me like realize the importance of just what we were talking about earlier, creativity in all respects, not just songwriting. It's like crafts and making a gift for a friend, or even the way I garden is like an expression of myself, and those things are all part of who I am as an artist.
Boy, that process is just, there won't be an output if you ignore that process for too long.
That's something that I didn't realize when I was younger and just getting started. As I grew into my career and it sort of evolved, I didn't realize the importance of that. And so the last few years of my career have kind of felt like shifting, going, oh my gosh, it's all out of whack. And then I've been trying to smooth that out and say, I'm a different person now. I've grown a lot. And what must I do now to remain healthy, creative, productive, inspired, and successful on a cha-ching level, but also on a ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom level.
Yeah, I love the way you said that's perfect. Well, you've actually accomplished a ton of stuff this year. I know COVID took us all off the road, which was shocking, and none of us were prepared for that. Even though I know you and I, as friends, had been talking about lessening the touring schedule. Both of us have had, a decade, you even longer than us, on the road. I know, quick stats, I think you've been on the road 11 years by yourself. How many years were you on the road?
Yeah, I started touring full time in 2009. So,
Yeah, man, it's a long time. And I know you just put, thousands and thousands of miles on your car and in the air and on your fingers and everything else. And there's no replacement for that experience, but needing to refill. I know for myself, COVID was that hard stop, and I hadn't realized how much I needed
mm.
to stop for a little bit. Did you feel that way too?
I did. I actually felt it before COVID, a few years before COVID. It kind of was what prompted my move to the Kansas City area. I needed physical space from the place where I felt centered in my music. So, like Fort Collins, Colorado, was the place where I worked, and I was known as that ukulele girl. And I needed physical distance to get away from that, to kind of be like, wait, what's going on here? What do I need? I want to tour less. I want to do less shows, and shows that like really suit my style and can bring what I'm really wanting to deliver to an audience. And so I was beginning to slow down my touring schedule even before COVID shut everything down. And in a way that made me really fortunate, because I had then started some other sources of income that were helping me pad what not touring as much left. So and things like that would be teaching, and I have a small marketing company on the side. So those things, the pillars, that pillar went up to accommodate the pillar of touring, of being less. And then especially it happened in the course of the year of 2020 and the time in quarantine during the pandemic. It happened later in the year, in the fall. I finally felt the release of pressure, like, okay, I'm not touring. I already knew that, but nobody else really did. And now everybody knows I'm not touring and I can't tour. So I need to do something with my time. I need to write. I need to connect again and write again. It was like I needed it to not be an option. And then I said, okay, there's no pressure now. I don't have to spend my energy and creative time worrying. I should just write now. I should try to write. So it was weird that I needed that to finally start writing. And the way I did that was songwriting groups, songwriting prompts, just going back to basics, like practicing my guitar more, getting to know my instruments in a little bit of a different way. And I'm always talking about this idea of like a daily routine of writing, and I've yet been able to commit to it. Like waking up at 8 a.m. and writing your morning pages, or free writing for 10 minutes. I still don't do that, so I'm not sure that that's my thing. But even just practicing my old songs is something I wasn't doing and could do. And going through some of those songs we talked about earlier that I had started but not really finished, and just like spending time with my songs is basically what was the cure for my sort of self-imposed writer's block.
Yeah, and it worked because I mean, I know you also started a couple of explored some other territory, which you started doing improv comedy, and then started a podcast with a friend, kind of based in creativity, based in calling in the one, but in a larger sense, really calling in success, calling in happiness, self-satisfaction on a really, philosophical scale. But I want to talk about some of the other really fantastic work you've done this year. So, first of all, you just wrote 3 songs for a film that was just released called It's Not a Burden: The Humor and Heartache of Raising Elderly Parents by Michelle Boyner and Barbara Green. And so that team you worked with before. So I want to hear about the film.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's a really exciting thing that is happening this summer. The film is a documentary about grown kids caring for their elderly parents, and the journeys that the different people go through, the different relationships you might have with your parents, the different situations they might find themselves in as they're either, going into nursing homes, or you're bringing them into your home to care for them, and the complications and humor that can go with that. I had got the opportunity to work with them previously in 2015 for a documentary that they made about a forgotten artist named Edith Lake Wilkinson, that focused around discovering her artwork and telling her story for the first time. And I wrote the entire soundtrack for that one that premiered on HBO and was Emmy nominated. And it's called Packed in a Trunk, The Lost Art of Edith Lake Wilkinson. Yeah. And then this one that just released this summer, June 2021, is called It's Not a Burden. And it's a really important story. I watched my grandma and my mom and grandma kind of moving themselves into a nursing home, and all that arose with that. And then me and my sister had to put my dad into hospice, which was in a nursing home. So I can relate to that personally. And then, as a songwriter, my goal is always to connect to the emotion of an experience that I may or may not have experience with. So I also got to watch the film and meet the families that are in this new doc, It's Not a Burden, and sort of write songs inspired by their stories. And those songs were actually written and recorded in 2019. And then in the, 2020 was the getting it all together, edited and released. So since it's released, it's been picked by Hoda and Jenna of the Today Show for their documentary of the Month Club, and been featured on Good Morning America. And it's really, that stuff is all cool and fancy, yay, Hoda and Jenna, but it's also really making a difference in a lot of people's lives. I have some videos on YouTube from, performances of these songs, and people are saying this one really hits home. I went through this last year, or I'm going through this right now. And as a songwriter, for me, that's the juiciest reward. The best reward is for someone to go, oh, I needed somebody to say it, and you put it into words, and this is giving me comfort. That's the ultimate payoff. We love the ching-a-ching, but we love hearing, the people say, oh, that's exactly what it's like.
I think that's beautiful what you just said. And you were talking about having to write a song to someone else's story. Mm-hmm. I think this is as a songwriter, I want you to talk a little bit about what that's like, and how we project ourselves because we're able to. Sometimes people say, "How could you write about that? Write about something that you don't know?" Tell us about that mental process when you're writing a song.
Yeah, writing a song for someone else as a writer is difficult for me and something that I've gotten a little better about with the experience of Edith Lake Wilkinson, who was living in the early 1900s, who was gay and an artist in in Provincetown, Massachusetts, who was put away by her family for assumed mental disorder, but people assume it was because she was gay and the family didn't think that that was acceptable. So I cannot relate to a lot of those experiences. So what I first I freaked out and then I was like, wait. We have more in common than you might think. And I think everybody has more in common than you might think. But like, I'm a woman. I feel love. I feel pain. I'm an artist. I'm a creator. I haven't been through these same things as she has, but what would it be like if I had? So as a songwriter, writing for myself and others, I love writing about the things that I'm curious about. And it's always when I don't know exactly the way to say it, to tell their story, I ask the questions that I'm thinking, or I sometimes submit
Mm.
the answer I assume to the question, which can be sometimes wrong because I'm putting words into someone else's mouth, you know, to say, how did you feel? How did you feel? And to answer that question. But it is still, I mean, it's poetry, so it's assumed, and I'm creating a room where these ideas are being tossed around. And I think it's easier for me always to write what I know and my own stories, but even that can get difficult when you're writing about someone else in your life who you plan to see again at a family reunion, say, and you don't want to be too harsh. So there's like this kind of secret language I've learned and am still learning on how to write honestly, but
Mm.
to cloak it in velvet and satin and just enough metaphor that, like, if someone were to say, "Is that song about me?" I'd be like, "Not at all.
What makes you say that?
What do you mean?" uh, and that feels like dangerous territory. Sometimes I just feel like I'm on a tightrope fence, and soon everyone will, find out my secrets. And at the same time, I've just been learning this year too. You can write songs that are just for you and just for your healing that no one else will need to hear. And that's hard for me as a songwriter, and like the product and the businesswoman in me is like, but every song could get you 99 cents on an iTunes download. But it's like, no, screw that. This is about me processing my own stuff, and
Yeah,
it is for me
yeah,
only.
yeah, yeah. I get to write poems for myself sometimes, right? I say you've written some beautiful poetry this year. We've got still lots to cover, but I wanted to talk specifically about the three songs that you wrote for It's Not a Burden. They sound really different. They're produced in a really different style than people that are familiar with your large discography. You've got a lot of songs out there on YouTube and up for sale on your page, but these songs sound different. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the songs from It's Not a Burden sound awesome. They were produced in LA by a woman named Joanna Catcher of Nice Manners Studio. And she brought in her studio musicians, just a team of three players. And we had electric guitar, bass, drums. So they feel more rock and elevated in energy. And then there's a really emotional one called Surrender that she played keys on, and there's some strings. So in my previous releases, I play ukulele as the main instrument, and there's often bass and drums. But I would say it's a little more simple arrangements and simple instrumentation. And for these, I didn't play ukulele, and I just belted them out, which felt perfect at the time. There was a little bit of like they're asking me to not play the ukulele. What will happen to me? Will I lose myself? But it really, it couldn't have happened at a better time in my career, because if it had happened, 5 years ago, I might have said no. Like, this is my identity. I must play this instrument. If you take this away from me, I don't know what I am. And right now in my career, I'm feeling really good about trusting other creative people and going, this person is a world-class producer. She knows what's going to make this song that I wrote come to life. And that's her job. And my job is to write it and to perform it. I learned these lessons about myself where I think, wow, Danielle, you've really come a long way. For you to be cool with that, you would not have felt the same way 3 years ago or 10 years ago. And that's exciting to me, to kind of be opening up to like, what's possible? A lot is possible, especially when you trust others and collaborate and allow yourself to go different places.
Well, that's a great segue too, because I know you also worked with the Flint Repertory Theater to do Await a Wall, which was a song written for a specific piece of art. So that was an inspiration. I'd like to hear a little bit about that. And then I also want to talk about your plans to write a musical, speaking of collaboration. So tell us a little bit about working with other artists.
Yeah, so the Flint Mural Plays is a project that commissioned me to write an original song inspired by a mural, along with another set of artists and playwrights who wrote pieces for these murals painted around the city of Flint, Michigan. Me and my boyfriend Michael got to visit, and we realized that the city of Flint is just covered in public art. It's an amazing museum of like really bright, colorful, wall-sized building murals. And so I wrote a song called Await a Wall, inspired by a mural by Joe Miller, an artist that I've never met. I just basically saw the picture. I got to choose between a few, and I was like, I really like that one if that's not taken. And it's of two birds kind of silhouetted on a red, fiery orange sunset, and then a blue bear that's sort of floating above the ground. And I was like, this is weird. I like it. And I was able to make something that I was really proud of, and it felt like a big success. I wrote it during the pandemic, and it felt like the first song I've written in a long time that really felt from the true center of the pit of who I am as Danielle, the songwriter. And the song is about anxiety, my anxiety, and like how I dream about a world without anxiety, and what a wonderful floating peaceful bear I would be instead of an angry grizzly bear. And we got to travel to Flint to see the mural in person, and I recorded a music video standing in front of the mural. And that project was cool in a lot of different ways. Obviously, a great...
I want to hear about this musical.
Yeah. Me and my friend Sky Zenz, who's also a beautiful singer-songwriter, who I met traveling and touring.
And she co-produced Dinner Guest, right?
Yes, she's also an amazing producer. She produced my 2016 album, The Terrible Dinner Guest, that we recorded in Norfolk, Virginia, where she's based. We talked a few years ago now, I think it was 2019, we started the discussion of like, we should write a musical together. Wouldn't that be fun? And then it's like a lot of these projects that start as a funny joke, and then you're like, no, we should really do that. And you start clicking into these pieces. So the concept is, we both love like 90s kids stuff. And the show Pen 15, which is a show about basically being in 8th grade in the early 2000s, which is what we were. And so we were kind of inspired by telling a story, like a coming of age story about two friends in the summer spending it apart. And, all that age is so rife with drama and grandiose emotions. And so we plan to meet this fall in Nashville to do a writer's retreat where we can actually like get together with some concentrated time to work on this thing. And it does feel right as I'm opening up and getting a little more confident in my skin to collaborate with others and to do these other projects. And even the guy who runs Flint Repertory Theater, I got to meet him when we went to Flint, and he was like, you should write a musical. And I said, actually, I am. And he was like, please contact me when you get that done.
Oh, my gosh.
So there's these moments we have, right, where it's like, I know more people than I think I do. And like this could all kind of be possible. So that magic that exists, not all the time, and I'm very grateful for it, when just things click together. And I think like this is the time.
Oh, that's awesome. And you're getting ready to do a little start back on touring and start some uke fests again. Yeah.
I have one scheduled in September of 2021, the Kentucky Ukulele Festival. That's the first one I have played this year in 2021. And I might just do it and see how it feels. I know a lot of my contemporaries are gearing back up and playing a lot of shows and really excited to get back on the road, and I'm really trying to listen to my body and say, I don't think that's what I want. I think I want to like get out there and do it and see how that feels, and then maybe do another one if it feels right. So just like, this is an important thing I've learned my entire career, but like knowing that what everyone else is doing is not necessarily what's right for me and what I need to do, and I might have a different sort of jaggedy path compared to theirs, and that's okay.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about today before we wrap up?
I would just like to say thank you to Heartland Song Network. I am honored to be the Artist of the Month, and through the organization, I feel like I've gotten to know so much about the music community of Kansas City and the Heartland. And I've just been constantly reminded and reassured that it is a really friendly and supportive group of folks that's diverse and interesting and inspired. And it's really cool to have moved from a musical community where I had a lot built up, and to come and feel welcomed into a new one that has like a really strong pulse and like driving momentum. So I'm really excited to be based in Kansas City these days, and I've felt welcomed, and I still haven't even really gotten out there yet. So I'm excited to continue to be in the community and play out eventually someday. And
so happy that you're putting roots down here. It's a dream come true for me and Jeff. So glad that you're here closer to
yeah, you were the reason I came here. I mean, not to like follow you and do everything you do, but definitely knowing that you guys would have my back, and you're such great ambassadors for the city and for the music community. So anybody who knows knows that like you've got a friend in Jeff and Erin. So it was like, if I have to take a big step and Jeff and Erin were there, that'll be okay, right? And it was, and you guys continue to support and be wonderful friends and what is the word? Comrades in the community? What's the word?
Comrades. Well, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can buy your merchandise, and learn about the movies and all the amazing things that you've done, including your Patreon. You have a very robust Patreon. You're one of you were an early adopter of the Patreon, and so tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, a great place to start is my website, danielleatethesandwich.com. From there, you can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I also have a very active YouTube channel where I make videos of my original songs and covers. And then Patreon is a really essential part of my career and the ability to support myself as an artist. My patrons donate money monthly to sort of help me fund the things that don't always pay back right away. So they're kind of my loan, or my savings, so that I can put money into these projects while I'm studying and researching and writing and honing in on the skills. And patreon.com/Danielle Ate the Sandwich is where you can find out how to support me there. But yeah, if you want to go old school and go to my website, you can find a link to all of these other places that I've mentioned. Often you get a good result just searching Danielle Ate the Sandwich on Google. You'll find lots of stuff.
There's only like 5 or 6 other Danielle Ate the Sandwiches. So
yeah. And they all have brown hair and glasses. God damn them.
Weird. Yeah. Let's end with this. What would you say to little Danielle writing your first songs, singing to your sister? What would you say to little Danielle about being a
singer? I would have said a nice advice or nice feedback that my father actually gave to me. Something as simple as, "You're a really cool kid." I think when I was young, I just needed somebody to notice me and comment and say, I see what you're doing, and I really like that. Keep that up. Not make a big spectacle, big deal, but like, I observed that, and I think that's pretty cool.
I see what you're doing. I think you're on the right track. Keep it up, girl.
Thank you, Erin, for everything.
Thank you, Danielle Anderson, also known as Danielle Ate the Sandwich, our Artist of the Month for August. And thank you from the Heartland Song Network, and thank you for me.
Yay! Bye.